Welcome to the 8th Open TESOL 2020. Our presentation today is about strategies for translating English idioms into Vietnamese, an analytical approach. The authors here, we, Mr. Khâu Quang Anh and Võ Thị Hồng Ý. But Ms. Hồng Ý cannot attend today. She has her work to do. Now, first, I would like to go with the introduction. Idioms have been considered as a common form of language containing wisdom, experiences, and valuable educational lessons that have been passed from generation to generation. In today's globalized Vietnam, English idioms have become necessary in cross-cultural communication, but their Vietnamese translated versions receive little attention. And therefore, we propose two research questions in our paper. The first question is, what strategies, formal equivalence or dynamic equivalence do English majors apply to rendering English idioms into Vietnamese? And the second question is, what linguistic and cultural features are displayed in the Vietnamese translated versions? We would like to go with the literature review. Definition of idioms. Al-Savi and Mahadi stated culture plays a vital role when translating idioms. According to Barat and Sharma, an idiomatic phrase or sentence consists of an idiomatic expression containing a special meaning in a special context. As a result, they suggested translators should rely on cultures of both source and target languages in order to translate. Now, translation strategy. Krings define translation strategy as the ideas of translator aware of some translation situations and found a way for tackling any problems in a concrete situation. The translation strategy could be defined as a way translators choose to make the target language become easier for readers to comprehend. Another view was taken by Nida, that equivalence was the main strategy to translate text, including formal and dynamic equivalence, using the former words to stick to the original text in both form and content, while using the latter aimed at keeping the meaning in the target text close to the audience. Furthermore, Philip said a strategy could be something a translator attempts to translate unfamiliar expressions in an acceptable way. Equivalence in translation. According to Philip, the translation strategy is strongly linked with equivalence. Gary said equivalence became the heart of the translation process. Equivalence could show translator ability in keeping trace of the original text. Nida supported dynamic equivalence and explained the concept of equivalence, including three factors such as equivalence, nature, and closet. Newmark argued that translator can use the knowledge of a language such as syntax and vocabulary strategies to deal with a translated situation, but is not totally paralleled in the target source. As PM put it, equivalence only happened when both the source and target language share the same linguistic value to some degree. Non-equivalence and culture-specific concepts. Baker stated that the big challenge in every translation process was an issue of finding equivalence for the target language. When discussing non-equivalence, researchers should focus on levels of linguistic uses in both languages. When comparing equivalence and non-equivalence, Snell-Hornby claimed that non-equivalence was something too inert, one-way communication. Hardly do two languages have exact equivalence, so it is not reachable. From the previous studies, Kasgari affirmed non-equivalence was a fact that happened in all languages, and it has caused some untranslatable cases. Nguyen listed some typical kinds of non-equivalence relating to culture-specific concepts, differences in many linguistic aspects, such as physical or interpersonal perspectives, expand meanings, and forms. Localization or domestication was seen as a translation instrument limited the cultural gap between two languages. Moreover, avoiding confusion was one of the advantages of localization. As Vinod put it, localization is how a translator chose to de-emphasize the degree of exoticness of the original text to bring the closeness of the translated language to the audience, and therefore making it easier for them to understand the translated text. In general, translators attend to fluency and coherency, so that they can make people comprehend better and feel closer to the translated version as if it were written in their own language. Foreignization, despite its strangeness in the early time, foreignization was gradually accepted later. By contrast to localization, foreignization was a requirement of keeping foreign characteristics such as cultural and linguistic values to make the translated versions sound exotic to the reader. Therefore, the target text brought the strangeness for target language readers. We just finished literature review. Now we go on with our methodology. The participants of the study were 20 English majors who are studying English as a foreign language at Japan University. This is a 4-year program, and at the time of their participation, they were in final year. They finished 12 credits of translation classes, so they are assumed to have a very good knowledge of translation strategies. The instrument, a list of 15 idioms and their popular Vietnamese versions, were extracted from the two educational websites, allies.edu.vn, eoloenglish.edu.vn. The former offers English classes to employees and students who do not have much time to practice English, to study English in language centers, so it's a good place for them to come to practice their English. And as seen, like nearly 7,000 people visit the website every day. The latter is also about education, which offers many online courses and useful methods to learn English well. To help learners to study easily, the website also connected to Facebook, and nearly 17,000 people have been following it. Research procedure and data analysis. All the participants were seated in a quiet room at school. They were told about the purpose of the meeting and that their translated text was used for the study purpose without any other attentions. Initially, we gave them 30 minutes to translate the 15 idioms, but then they could not finish it in that period of time, so we gave them 5 more minutes to complete the text. And finally, we gather the data and we use the Microsoft Excel to have count the number of translated idioms that apply the dynamic equivalence strategy, the formal equivalence strategy, and none of the two. After having the number of strategies used to translate each idiom, the researcher began to look for the use of linguistic features. We mainly focus on the correction of the Sino-Vietnamese, pure Vietnamese meanings of their translated text. Uh, Here, our findings and discussion. You see, as can be seen in the table, most of the participants chose dynamic equivalence to translate their idioms, and stay in the second, a formal equivalence. And just few people translated the idioms incorrectly. But surprisingly, look at the table here. Surprisingly, like two idioms. Two idioms. The first one, robbing a cradle. The second one is habit, curses habit. We see zero of formal equivalence. While uh, while 40% of the participants could not translate the two idioms correctly. Overall, the majority of the participants choose dynamic equivalence to translate the idioms. Standing at the second place is the participant use of formal equivalence. Only a small number of the participants were unable to use the two strategies. And when we're talking about linguistic and cultural features used to translate the idioms, we see that the majority prefer the dynamic strategy to render their text, and that there seems to be a relationship between utilization of this strategy and the Sino-Vietnamese preference. This can be seen as the indicator of their Sino-Vietnamese sophistication and their awareness of deploying appropriate translation strategy to satisfy many of the Vietnamese readers who prefer to listen to texts that sound more florid. Now, we would like to go to our conclusion, implication, and suggestion. Conclusion: the majority of the participants know the two strategies pretty well, dynamic equivalence and formal equivalence. Many students in this group have good knowledge of these two translation strategies and avoid using word-for-word translation. It's very interesting to find that many of the students participated in the study could choose appropriate Vietnamese, either pure Vietnamese or Sino-Vietnamese, to translate their text, so they can impress the Vietnamese audience. And we also have some implications and suggestions for readers for further research. First, we would like to mention flexibility. Flexibility is required for contributing to the success of translating English text. The target of translation is to not let readers have a sense of translated text. Future research on larger samples should be conducted to have a more reliable results. In this study, we had only 20 participants. More research on bilingual translation of idioms should be carried out. Bilingual translation is a very interesting topic, I believe. Finally, more research on untranslatability of idioms should be conducted to see how students solve the problems when they cannot find, vocabulary to replace the short language, to bring it to the target language, so the audience can understand. And that's it for today. And thank you for your attention. Have a nice day. Bye.